Daniel wandered through the empty streets, the chill of the late autumn night gnawing at his bones. Street lamps cast pools of pale light, barely illuminating the cracked sidewalks and damp cobblestones. Each breath he drew fogged in the cold air, mingling with the swirling mist that drifted along the river. His thoughts were a storm of despair, circling relentlessly in his mind, debts he couldn't pay, opportunities he had lost, and the crushing weight of loneliness. The city, usually alive with laughter and neon lights, felt like a ghost town tonight. Shops were shuttered, buses had long stopped running, and even the distant hum of cars felt like it belonged to another world. Daniel's footsteps carried him to the old stone bridge he had walked on as a child, a place that once held memories of laughter, kite strings, and family picnics. Tonight, the bridge felt different, silent, cold, and infinitely vast. He leaned over the iron railing, staring into the dark river below. Its surface shimmered faintly under the moonlight, black and mysterious, reflecting the emptiness he felt inside. The wind tugged at his thin jacket and his hair, whispering like a voice only he could hear. He let his mind drift to the idea that if he simply let go, all the pain would dissolve in the icy water. It seemed simple, final, and merciful. A sudden sound made him flinch. A voice, soft but firm, called out from behind him. "Cold night, isn't it?" Daniel turned sharply. A man, perhaps in his 50s, stood a few feet away. He wore a threadbare coat, and steam curled from a paper cup he held. His hair was streaked with gray, and his eyes were calm, but kind, like lanterns in the fog. He didn't step closer, didn't make any sudden movement. He simply observed, offering presence without pressure. Daniel forced a bitter laugh. "And how do you know that?" The man smiled faintly. "Because I know what it looks like when someone's lost," he said. "And it looks a lot like you right now." For the first time, Daniel felt the weight of his hands loosen from the railing. A part of him wanted to scoff or push the stranger away, but another part, the part buried deep beneath years of self-doubt, longed for someone to simply see him. The words he had locked away for weeks tumbled out. He told the man everything. The lost job, the mounting bills, the friends who had betrayed him, and the silence from the family he felt had abandoned him. His voice cracked and trembled, but the confession felt like a fragile release. The stranger listened without interruption, without judgment, nodding occasionally. When Daniel finally ran out of words, the man spoke quietly, with a calm certainty that penetrated Daniel's despair. "You don't have to understand everything tonight," the man said, his voice low and steady. "But I can tell you this, if tonight feels like the worst it will ever be, tomorrow still offers a chance. A chance to take a single step forward, no matter how small. You're not done yet." Daniel's grip slackened entirely. The icy metal of the railing no longer seemed like a lifeline but a reminder that he could step back into the world. For the first time in hours, maybe even days, he felt his chest lighten. Someone had spoken to him, really spoken, and it mattered. The man simply nodded, as if he knew his work here was done, yet his presence lingered like a beacon through the fog. Daniel didn't know why he stayed, why he listened, but he felt a thread of hope, fragile, yes, but undeniable, beginning to weave itself back into his heart. The stranger, Edward, as he would soon introduce himself, motioned toward a nearby bench beneath a dim street lamp. Daniel hesitated for a moment, then followed, shivering as the wind tugged at his coat. Edward handed him the paper cup he had been holding. Steam curled up, carrying the faint aroma of tea. "It's not much, but it's warm," he said gently. Daniel accepted it with a silent nod, surprised at the comfort it brought. They sat in silence at first. The only sounds were the faint lapping of the river against the stone supports and the distant hoot of an owl. Daniel's thoughts, which had roared uncontrollably just moments ago, began to settle slightly. The warmth of the tea and Edward's quiet presence created a fragile cocoon around him, a small space where it was safe to breathe. After several long moments, Edward spoke, his voice calm and measured. "You know, I've stood on this very bridge before. Many years ago, feeling like the world had nothing left for me. I thought, this was it. My time was over. But then, someone stopped. A stranger, said just enough to make me pause. To choose one more day. And that day led to another. And another. Until I realized that the smallest act of kindness can sometimes save a life." Daniel looked at him, captivated despite himself. There was something in Edward's eyes, a quiet depth of experience, a history of pain and resilience that resonated with Daniel's own struggles. You were saved?" he asked, almost in disbelief. Edward nodded slowly. Yes, but it wasn't about me being lucky. It was about someone noticing that I mattered, even when I couldn't see it myself. Tonight, I don't know why I'm here, or why I noticed you. But sometimes life gives us a chance to pass that same kindness forward. Daniel's throat tightened. He had never spoken to a stranger like this before. He had never poured out his soul without fear of ridicule or dismissal. And yet here was Edward, listening, understanding, without judgment. Daniel's eyes stung with tears he refused to let fall. I don't even know your name, he managed to say. Edward, the man replied, smiling faintly. That's all you need tonight. Names aren't important. What matters is that you promise me something. What? Daniel whispered. That you won't let tonight be the end, Edward said firmly. Promise me you'll walk away from the railing. Promise me you'll take one step into tomorrow, no matter how small. Daniel felt the weight of his despair pressing down, but Edward's words cut through it like sunlight through clouds. Slowly, shakily, he nodded. I promise, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Edward placed a hand lightly on his shoulder. Good, that's all I needed. One promise can change everything. For a long while, they simply sat together on the bench, watching the fog drift along the river. Daniel's chest gradually loosened, his mind quieted, and for the first time in months, he felt hope. It wasn't bold or loud, it was a quiet ember, fragile but alive. As the first hint of dawn painted the horizon with soft pink and gold, Edward rose to leave. Take care of yourself, Daniel. And remember, if tonight is the worst chapter, tomorrow gives you a chance to write the next one. Daniel watched him disappear into the foggy city streets, unsure if he would ever see him again. Yet Edward's words lingered, embedding themselves deep in his heart. And for the first time, Daniel believed that maybe, just maybe, life was worth continuing. 10 years had passed since that fateful night on the bridge. Daniel now stood at the same spot, the stone railing beneath his hands familiar and comforting. The city had changed around him, new buildings, bustling streets, brighter lights, but the bridge remained a quiet witness to countless stories, just as it had once been for him. Daniel had not forgotten Edward, the man who had appeared like a guardian angel in his darkest hour. Life had not been simple, he had faced setbacks, losses, and moments of fear, but he had also discovered resilience within himself. He had rebuilt his career, formed deep friendships, and even found love. Most importantly, he had chosen life each day, carrying Edward's words like a torch through moments of doubt. If tonight is the worst chapter, tomorrow gives you a chance to write the next one. On this crisp morning, Daniel carried a letter, sealed in a waterproof envelope. He approached the railing carefully, tucking the note into the small crevice between the stones where he thought Edward might notice it, as if the bridge itself could act as a messenger. The words inside were simple, but from the heart. To the man who saved me. You may not remember me, but I will never forget you. On a cold night years ago, you found me on this bridge and gave me words that carried me through my darkest days. Because of you, I chose life. Because of you, I discovered the strength to keep going. I don't know where you are now, but if these words ever reach you, I hope you know that your kindness changed a life. Daniel. For days afterward, Daniel returned to the bridge, hoping for some sign that Edward had received the message. At first, there was nothing but the river, fog, and the soft echoes of passing footsteps. But one morning, he discovered another envelope tucked carefully into the same stone crevice. His hands trembled as he opened it. Inside was a brief, yet profoundly moving note. Daniel, I remember, and I am proud of you. That night, I didn't just give you hope, you gave it back to me. Seeing that you kept your promise proves that even the smallest act of kindness can carry a life forward. Thank you for reminding me why I stayed, too. Edward. Daniel stood there, tears streaming down his face, feeling the weight of a decade of gratitude and closure. The bridge, once a symbol of despair, now felt like a sanctuary. A circle of human kindness had completed itself, one life had been saved by another, and in doing so, both had been transformed. He traced his fingers along the stone railing, imagining Edward standing somewhere nearby, smiling quietly, just as he had years ago. Daniel realized that hope, once given and once accepted, had the power to ripple outward, touching lives in ways unseen but profoundly felt. For the first time, Daniel left the bridge not with sorrow or fear, but with a heart full of peace and the knowledge that even the smallest kindness can echo across time, changing the course of a life, and sometimes, many lives, to come. The river below whispered softly in the morning light, carrying with it the promise of tomorrow, and Daniel walked away, ready to continue his own story.